We're live. Welcome to the MX Network Materials Exchange Lunch with Lumbermen. Matt Lehman. Matt Lehman and I have been doing this for quite a few months here. We talk a little bit about Lehman's Lumber Guide, break down some things happening in the industry, talk about multifamily contracting, buying and selling lumber, OSB, plywood, kind of give you a different dimension in layman's terms of what's going on in the market, stuff that
I
you
like all the puns.
yeah, man, and you don't just hear on the trading floors. Real rubber meets the road information. Hey, before I start, I wanted to introduce Hasib. Hey, come on over here, Hasib. Um, this is Hasib Gulta. He's going to school here in Chicago. His family is in the lumber business, right?
Lumber business, yeah.
Tell him a little bit about where you're from and where your family's in the business at.
So I'm from Pakistan,
Yep.
and I'm an international student here in Chicago, just doing an internship with Materials Exchange.
Yep.
And my father has a lumber business, and we import from Germany, Europe, Canada, America, and all over the world.
Yeah, so Hasib is helping us, look at the global market, learning about the market, going to school here in Chicago. So we're happy to have Hasib on the team.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Welcome.
Yep. Yeah, so Matt, I wanted to let's jump into it. So we were just talking before we jumped on about the BCMC, the combined with the framers early part, and then the truss manufacturers, the late part, will both be out in that conference in Omaha next week, and it should be great. You'll be out there, you'll be at a booth, we'll have a booth. Kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Nice to get out and go somewhere.
Yeah, so crazy a little bit. I had Greg and Matt on yesterday, and we were talking basis and a few other things. There's this odd market out there right now where I hear where nobody has any inventory, and you hear that from the people that are long, right? And then you hear that people have a lot of inventory. I mean, a little story that I heard yesterday. A big company bought another company. The buyer left before they came and visited him because they showed up, and guess what? There was a whole bunch of inventory sitting on the ground, stacked, basically blocking the sun out. Right? You hear stories like that. I'm trying to get a reload for people that you and I know. So the one reload that was a sure thing called me back the other day and said, "Hey, you can cross dock at us, but we don't have any room to put any lumber or panels because a whole bunch of people that normally aren't in here. This is a separate one from the ones we've been talking about. Have inventory on the ground." Am I just missing something, or is there a lot more sitting around than I thought?
No, I got a new take on this thing, and Matt started the conversation yesterday about transportation, and I got to thinking about I did on my another dimension today. I was talking about the number of boats that are just floating off the ports.
There's another dimension, yeah.
And there's, if you just minimize whatever's out there, I heard there were 70 boats container boats floating off the coast of LA, 40 off of Fresno, and 40 off of New York, and that doesn't count anything in the Gulf down the eastern seaboard. So I just did a little study and said, let's assume there's 100 ships floating out there, there's a lot more than that, and the capability, the capacity of those ships is anywhere between 10,000 and 23,000, depending on how big the boat is. So let's assume that it's the smallest number of ships, and it's the smallest ships. So that's 1 million containers that are floating off the coast, waiting to come in. And regardless of what's on them, there's probably that much on the docks already because they're loaded. And with Christmas coming, we can assume there'll probably be another 100 boats coming. So you're talking about 3 million containers in a truckload. A flatbed truck carries 2 containers. I watched a train go by the other day. I was taking my grandson to school. It had 2 oil cars, 2 chemical cars, and the rest of the whole train was nothing but containers. Anywhere from 1 to 4 on the train. So I did a best case scenario. Let's say you get 2 containers on a truck, 4 containers on the car. That means between now and the end of the year, we've got 750,000 trucks and 320,000 cars if you split it down the middle and get a half truck, half cars, there's that much product that's got to be shipped just from the ports.
Yeah.
And so one guy told me this morning, he said, you realize those container cars and those flatbed trucks they're different than just hauling lumber. I said, yeah, but the people that drive them aren't any different. It's the number of drivers is going to be just stretched thin, and engineers to drive the trains. So I think we've been talking about this basis here for a long time, and like, what are we all missing? And I think the missing ingredient is that there's going to be a transportation bottleneck that's going to cause people to just buy lumber like crazy. And the difference between now and where we are last year, people started buying lumber in March after the fact, kind of when things started getting rocking and rolling and spring was coming. And now people they've already bought their lumber. They got people that got wood in warehouses like you were just talking about they're loaded up, they've never had it before. And I think the market is potentially overbought for what's going to happen in October. But I think that November contract is projecting something that's going to be a supply disruption that's going to cause the price of lumber to go higher. So I think futures is right. I think the basis trade's probably good buying cash, selling futures, but I don't think you need to even sell the futures, just buy the cash. But I wouldn't be surprised to see November sell. I mean, cash being over $600 in by the time. Well, I'm quite confident it'll be over $600 when November expires.
Yeah, see, I'm going to take the under on that one just because I know we did it. I saw I'm just guessing. It seems like 80% of the people out there think we've already seen a bottom or we're going higher now. So I just have to always err to the side of the majority of people being wrong, and that'll be a fun one to see. We'll benchmark.
Well, I think the thing is that I think October's going to be a weak month because people are right now. There's not an urgency for shipment, but I mean, and everybody's loaded. I mean, they got plenty of wood, so nobody needs anything. But if you could get if the mills find out there's going to be some sort of disruption, or it's going to take 60 days or whatever it's going to be, 30 days, and let that filter in, then people are going to start panicking about not being able to get wood for. I'm just trying to think about what's the thing we're overlooking, and we look at supply and you look at housing starts and the delays and other products that are keeping completions getting going. But if there's some sort of supply disruption where you just can't get a truck to come pick up your lumber, or you end up having to pay 2 or 3 times the freight rate on it, I think that's the outlier for the.
Well,
so
quarter. You can get a truck. You just have to pay $3,000 instead of $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think we're going to have a panic because of transportation that's going to get the market extremely overbought by March. I think we're going to have an early peak this year. We're going to have a spike up, early peak, and then probably a bear market in the last 2/3 of the year.
I still have yet to be in the lumber business for 30 years where there isn't something, a sense of urgency created. It was fire season. That's over with. Now it's transportation. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? But this is the world, right, that we live in right now. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I know. You got to think outside the box. And when I was just with Matt's conversation yesterday about for prompt wood, he's already selling prompt wood for 3-week delivery.
There's no doubt. I mean, and we've noticed that too. It's you get a cheap truck or an inexpensive truck. Guess what? They don't pick up.
Right, you get an offer. Yeah, somebody gave him $500 to not go do it. And
you get what you think is an expensive truck, and guess what? They don't pick up.
Well, and the other thing around the year end, truckers pick up stuff and they'll take it home for a week when they're going on vacation over Christmas. So the year end is a bad time to have to be getting emergency deliveries because trucking is just so unreliable. But I just think when I saw that train go by yesterday with. I counted, it had at least 100 cars, and I thought, well, that's just 200 containers. I thought, well, that's not even a tenth of a ship.
You know what we've been doing, and it's you pay for it, but it's a good service. We use Uber Freight a lot. You know why? Because even though it's expensive sometimes, and sometimes they do what they say they're going to do when they're going to do it.
Right.
and it's the trucking industry, the freight industry, the way it gets booked is so old school trading floor. They talk about all this technology they
Yeah.
have. There is no technology. They have these big trading floors full of people with buy side on one side, sell side on the other, carrying pieces of paper back and forth to each other. And they say they've got all these load boards and all this. They're still brokering this freight back and forth like
Yeah. A load board is a TV screen in a truck stop.
yeah, it's a I saw a commercial for a load board the other day and they're like, the person I was like, I really like this load board because I start typing the city's name and it fills it out for me. I'm like,
Technology.
if that's your form of technology, we got some problems, man. Uh,
Autofill.
yeah. All right. So let's go look at the let's go over to the Layman's Softwood Framing Lumber Guide. How's that working so far? Getting people to sign up and get over there to get over to your new place. I love it. It's really cool. Everything seems pretty easy.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. It's kind of tricky. It's got like view the forecast. The forecast takes you to a page that says that you have to sign up for 2 months for free before you get to look at it. But yeah, the website's doing real well. But
Let's rip through some of these comments real quick. Judy said, Johnson said, that's why I like MX. You do the freight. Absolutely. Thank you, Judy. Ask us any question anytime. Tim said, looking forward to this while I'm crushing my fourth cup out of my MX coffee tumbler. Hey, Tim, be careful if you're up in your treehouse, man, crushing your fourth cup of coffee. By the way, Tim Symes, I follow you on LinkedIn all the time. You've been on some of our shows, man, dude. The detail you guys put on your information is amazing, and like it's great. People should really be on your stuff. Chris from Hong Kong. Richard Mullen. Rich, hello from Kansas. Hey, Rich just got on the platform the other day. Great to see you, Rich. Hopefully we get you on, get you doing some stuff here real quick. Seems to be a general Christopher Blath. Did I say that correct? Seems to be a general supply problem worldwide. My son told me today that impossible to buy 9mm rounds to his pistol before Christmas. I think you can get them, Chris. I'm having a hard time getting just 12 gauge rounds to go bird hunting with my friends in a month. You can get them, but you got to pay a pretty penny for them, right? So let's look at this chart, the 12-month forecast, 2x4, 2 and better composite. So what do we see different from last week? What do you see going forward, Matt?
I think this thing's playing right along like it should. I mean, this is an FDP week, a forecast and decision point week, which indicates that the market should put in a high here, and everybody was kind of excited because the market printed up again the midweek, and the mills are selling strong. But that's what they should be doing. It's still it's still at the end of September, so I think we're going to start to see the saturation point hit next week. And if mills really have the order file they say they do, then that means the inventory shifted to the consumer side, the supply side. These guys don't have anything. They don't have any needs they need to cover. I think what people are buying now is just in case wood. It's not just in time. But I'm not seeing anybody out of my membership that says that they need to buy any lumber, that there's an urgency, that there's a shortage. If anything, things are shipping on time or quicker.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy. We now think things are wrong when they're more normalized, right, Matt?
Yeah, and just because the market's gotten a little flat in here, and we're instead of seeing $75 price increases a week, we see $35 a week, and you go, whew, that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Let's pop over to your chart on Southern Yellow Pine. I think that's interesting because some of the people in your group who I talked to also, the interesting thing again, let's talk about pine 2x4. 2x4 seems great. Anything in 2x6 in the world right now is hard to move, right? But low grade, that whole spread again, number 3 and number 2 and 2x4, especially in pine, basically on top of each other again, right?
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense. The industrial guys, since all the optimization over the last 5 years, the low grade percentage is probably less than 5% of the total production. So I mean, industrial guys don't really need number two. They only need is number three, but there's just not enough of it. More industrials that come along, they're going to have to start taking it. And these guys don't really like getting number two, from what I understand, because they don't want their customers to get spoiled thinking that's what this stuff's going to look like in the future.
Right. So one question for you is on the Southern Pine. I've had a lot more people on the platform looking at Southern Pine MSR. What's any feedback there? You are really good. You dial in on that product pretty damn good. What are you seeing there?
It's a function of truss manufacturing. It's just the EWP's got the floor truss market just stretched out thin, and you got to have that MSR. I mean, MSR is easy to buy. It's there are other grades in Southern Pine. Southern Pine has a number two dense, number one dense select struct.
Number one prime, number two prime, all that. Yeah.
Those are visual grade thing, but from a structural point of view, and then you throw MSR on there. There's half a dozen grades you can buy that are two and better for truss manufacturing. You just got to be aware of what your values are, and mostly number two Southern Pine is what's needed for cord stock, but I think the second floor things that require the floor joists that are equivalent to EWP require more MSR, and it's
do you have a cheat sheet on that? A guy that I used to work with a long time ago. I don't know if you remember him, George Moody.
I know. I used to work with George.
George, when he came to work at Block, he had a spreadsheet that showed all the different spruce, Doug fir, Southern Pine, every grade in the fiber stress and bending modules, elasticity, everything that you could use. If you had something like that, I gotta find that. I know it's in somewhere at home.
Look at the SPIB, or BCMC might have it. The SPCA might have it as well. But
it's a great cheat sheet for buyers to have when they're looking at certain stuff, and they can use DSS instead of SS, or number two or number one for different. I don't think people really sometimes look at what the different values are that they can buy.
Well, and there's machine stress rated, which is MSR. Then there's MEL, machine evaluated lumber.
Yeah.
And there's visually graded lumber, and the array of things that some mill right down the street makes MSR. The one beside it's MEL, and then there's another one that's visually graded, and they all have a product that's suitable for the same use of the same thing. So it's really kind of complicated. You got to know what your options are.
So what you're saying on Pine here, 4 inches seems to be the thing that's getting an order file and getting stretched out again. 6 inch has some pretty good opportunity. We talked about the basis opportunity on 6 inch if you wanted to load a warehouse with that. 8 inch, 10 inch, and 12 inch is. What do you? The wides are still.
You can look at those prices right there and tell you who's out of the market.
Yeah.
Obviously, the treaters are out of the market. 2x6 wider, they're just not present, and they're still.
Why is that?
They're waiting on. They're not going to buy till the home centers commit.
I thought the home centers were already coming in. Maybe they are on studs and all that. Maybe not on treated.
Not on treated. They're still getting down, but they're getting dangerously low. But they just I just don't think they want to reload like they did last year and end up having to sit there and look at it for such a long time.
Yeah, no, that's
still early. Still early for the treaters to be buying for next year.
Let's go over to 2x4 Canadian spruce. Take a look at that. I know we looked at this is the cash market also, but looking at the contract the other day, we had Greg Coon and a few other people on. Man, that thing's getting down to some dangerously low open interest. Hopefully, but again, that thing ebbs and flows and goes to extremes at the market. Maybe it's maybe like we said, there's traders fatigue. Maybe that will eventually kick back in, and some people will do it, right?
Yeah, and I think that low open interest can bite you going either way. It can be pushed up or down, just as it's been historically. The low open interest is a warning sign for people that are not to be short, because the longs can push it up.
Yep.
But shorts can push it down just as easily, and especially when you've got a premium in it like it's carrying right now.
Let's roll over to. We don't need to look at the hem fir market right now. Green Doug firs flat. Let's look at the 7/16 market. So Southeast, a lot of those mills were getting out there, but people with contracts had a bunch of stuff listed on our platform this week. Kind of hit or miss. Whether some people are loading the boat on that, some mills are trying to go out into the month of October on shipments. I mean, it seems like OSB is still pretty fluid, but I don't see. Am I missing anything here? I don't see anything tremendous.
No, it's just at a spot. OSB just has limited production, and we're still trying to figure out if there's going to be specialty products being made, or if there's going to be more commodity board. Or I think the industry is just kind of up in the air about what to expect from OSB. I think there's a couple of new plants coming on next year, but right now there's just the job sites are just not fluid. Wood's not flowing as quickly as they like for it to. So, a couple of trucks of OSB, and you got your contracts coming with a couple of trucks more next week seems to be enough to hold everybody in place for right now. And some people are tucking it away. They're tucking $450 OSB away for the long term, and I'm not sure that's a good idea. But again, if we look at the chart, this is typically a flat spell between now and the end of the year, and then we start to climb up again. But this is really kind of just a back-to-back market for OSB.
Jeff, while we were talking, Jeff Berwick. Hey, Jeff, man, thank you. He just sent me over the cheat sheet from the base design value species from, let's see where he sent that from. Yeah, PDF format. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. That gets a lot of Southern Pine. You got to love this, Matt, when our viewers send us this.
To the punch.
Yeah.
That's good. Nice job, Jeff.
That's the whole point, man. I love it. So OSB, what a lot of people I saw are looking for was still 23-30 seconds TNG, but they're looking for it at the right price, right?
The spread between that and 5/8 and 7/16 is just too wide. It's about $200 out of joint.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, there's a lot more Brazilian pine showing up on the docks. We got a lot of listings of that for prompt now too, which is great. We got some new vendors on that. Let's go over to our. I love this. Let's go to the framing package again. This is a great one for everybody in here. And one thing quick we have coming out on Materials Exchange, hopefully in the next, I always say a few weeks, we're going to do per piece pricing delivered on our panels and on our lumber. So any of these people that have had a hard time doing the conversions and buy a lot of lumber, which you wouldn't think there's a lot of people like that out there. Matt, you and I talked to them.
Yeah, the closer you get to the builder side, the more you get, the more per piece you got.
So we've been asked to get that. We're going to put the per piece delivered with freight into you buyers. So getting on this platform is a real advantage. You don't have to pay somebody to do that conversion. You don't have to pay them $20 1,000 to do that conversion anymore. So Matt, let's talk about this. What does this index show us this week?
It shows us that replacement cost is edging higher. We use a 4-week trailing average for the prices that the builders could probably expect to be paying. So it just shows that replacement cost is higher than the price you're going to be getting, which kind of indicates that I think builders can probably expect October lumber locks to be as low as it's been all year, and then maybe hang in there for a little bit, but not go lower than that. It looks like this is the low price for the time being.
Yeah, and I think from what I've heard, and this is just what I've heard, people are still only doing 30 days. And customers are asking for 90-day locks. Maybe some people are doing it, but I haven't heard a lot of that going on.
I haven't heard it going on either. And from I gotta say something that's going to be the truth and not waver from one side to the other. But from a builder's perspective, you want to do 90-day lumber locks. From a builder supplier's perspective, you don't want to do 90-day lumber locks.
Yeah.
October is the best time of the year to do extended pricing locks, but it's the worst time to give it. So, depending on where you are, and I got a feeling it's just gonna be difficult for a builder to get it, because the dealers have just took a thrashing last year over some of those long-term commitments, and it doesn't, as much as it helps the builder and they'd like to be able to have it, it's just not able to do that kind of protection, even with futures market. There's just not enough volume in the futures market.
Well, it's like, could you imagine the premium with the back month premiums we have?
Yeah, but it's kind of telling you that we're going to go back up there. There's something's going to happen, and
one thing I did hear though this week actually, and There's actual mills out there giving customers firm pricing now.
I think that's a good idea, but I wonder how far out are they going?
Well, here's the deal. At a mill, will you lose opportunity? Yeah, but it's a hedge. You know what your cost of production on. I heard some of the people in the South are giving lumber locks, right? So that's not
That's not
traditionally.
bullish.
Well, they haven't done that before, right? So
No.
the whole point is that was usually a niche market, but I heard there's some people out there. So here, as a buyer, it doesn't hurt to ask. Go ask somebody what they'll sell you forward at. Ask a mill what they'll sell you forward at, and see what they say. The worst thing my parents always told me people will say to you is no, right? But if you don't ask them, you can't get a no.
Yep.
Anyway, that was kind of interesting. So pretty cool on the framing composite. Let's go over to weekly lumber shipments on the next page, and then we'll kind of finish it up with that one. Rail shipments. So what are we looking at here, Matt? We got the blue line shows
The blue line. You can see there was a surge in U.S. shipments, which just the problem with that graph right there, that data lags for a couple of weeks. So that just really tells you, it just confirms that, a couple of weeks ago the U.S. mills did ship well, and it justifies the price increase. A little bit of bump in the Canadian. So all that does is just tells you that it's just a confirmation that we're shipping more. But if you look at where they both are in relationship to their averages, and for last year, they're kind of normal. Their mills are shipping about 3,000 cars a week of U.S. and Canadian lumber, and it's just kind of U.S. is shipping more than Canada, obviously, just because it's got more to ship. But it's nothing outstanding there, other than just the confirmation on the U.S. side that mills did ship a lot of cars a couple of weeks ago.
Cool. Matt, anything you wanted to follow up on? Otherwise, we're up against our half an hour. I'm going to see you in Omaha. Looking forward to it. That's going to be a blast. Look forward to sitting down and grabbing a bite or doing something together, chatting about adding to this. But again, as always, it's great having your feedback on here. I get a lot of good feedback from all your users and all people that listen to you on this platform. Love listening to what you have to say.
Try to keep it pertinent.
Yeah, you bet. All right, well, everybody have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing you, Matt and I, next week. If maybe we'll have to do it live from the trading floor.
We might have to do it live from the road or something.
Yeah, well, we'll have to figure that one out. Just hit me on that one. Well, we'll figure it out. I'll bring something to do it with, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Good. Have a good day, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah.